First question, Joe here in front.
Hey, Rick. Happy Father's Day.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah, thank you. I remember early in the Cavs series, DA asked you about why there is no momentum in playoff series. You guys had a good discussion about it, but applying that to now, when you're in the finals and it's 2-2 and you had the loss that you had, does the fact that games don't seem to carry over, does that make moving on from what happened easier to get ready for Game 5?
I'm not sure I understand what your question is. Say it again.
The fact that there doesn't seem to be momentum that carries over from one game to the next in a playoff series, does that make it easier then to move on from as tough of a loss as you had in Game 4?
I don't know. I think there's momentum. I mean, it's hard to exactly gauge. I think maybe some of it fades with longer stretches between games, but between 3 and 4 was one day. I thought there was momentum there. I thought we played well for 3 quarters and then struggled in the fourth, and had a much better start in that game. So I don't know. It's not haven't given it a lot of thought. It's kind of for us and for the coaching staff and the players, it's analyzing momentum is not really part and parcel to what's going on like right now, and having to do a better job going and getting the ball off the boards and and avoiding fouls and things like that. So, but it's an interesting question.
Second row on the left.
Pollock from China, Pacers.com. How is Jarvis Rocker doing? Will he be able to practice today?
No, he's doing better. He's off crutches, and he's walking with a slight limp now. So it's very unlikely that he'll be able to play in this series. But he is doing better.
Next
And
row
it would be great if he was available, because I do think he would help us.
Next row back on the left.
Guilherme Giovannoni from ESPN Brazil. Pascal Siakam last game had a great first 3 quarters with 20 points, but
Who's that?
Siakam.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but he had only 1 shot in the last quarter. What was the problem that you guys couldn't find him in the rhythm to make him keep playing?
Yeah, talked about it yesterday. That can't happen. He's a guy that, if we're not playing through him, he needs to touch the ball more. Problems that hindered us in the fourth quarter were inability to rebound the ball, unnecessary fouls. Those things have us taking the ball out of bounds after they score, or having to take it out after a free throw, and then they can really set their defense, and then the game becomes slower. So those doing better in those 2 areas, the rebounding and the fouls. I mean, that will help us, but it's a challenge. I mean, they put a lot of pressure on you in the fourth quarter. I mean, they've got some great players that cause major problems.
Next row back.
Hi, Coach. Tencent from China. So you were up double-digit at one point in the third quarter and had control of the game for most part of the game. But in the fourth, you were outscored 31-17, and then eventually you lost the game. How much does that kind of a loss affect the team mentally or physically, especially in the playoff series? And how much of a role do you think officiating played in the last game?
Well, I mean, tough losses are a part of a playoff series, and it's just if this was easy, I mean, they'd be pulling people off the street to play in the NBA Finals. And coach, it's just not. And do what you guys are doing. I mean, you guys are the best in the world. Everybody else here is perceived to be the best in the world at this moment, and so it's difficult. So. But you look at it, you take it for what it is, and it becomes pretty clear the things that you need to do to be better. And our job as a staff is to take those things, simplify them, communicate them in a simple, concise way, and so that we can do better. And so, that's it. As far as officiating, I think it's awful what some of the things I've seen about the officiating, and Scott Foster in particular. I've known Scott Foster for 30 years. He's a great official. He's done a great job in these playoffs. We've had him a lot of times, and the ridiculous scrutiny that's being thrown out there is terrible, and unfair and unjust and stupid.
On your right, Sam.
Hi, Rick. Sam Amick, The Athletic. I had a Pascal question, but now you have me curious. When you're in the middle of the finals, I don't know your consumption habits. What came your way in terms of Scott and the commentary that?
I'm not getting into it. I've said what I'm going to say.
Okay.
If you have another question, ask it. If
Sure.
not, we'll move on.
I've heard that you were a fan of Pascal long before you guys obviously went out and targeted him. When did he first cross your desk as a guy that you thought was special? And then once you got him in the building, I wonder, as a leader, he just talked about it a minute ago, just what have you seen from him beyond his talent as a leader with your group?
Well, he's extremely versatile. I mean, I don't know. Was Dwayne Casey the coach when they drafted him? I think he may have been. And Dwayne did a great job of developing him, and they had him with the 905 in the G League, and he really had to earn his way. And as you watch a guy's career, as he ascends, coaches take note of the steps that players have had to take to get to where they are. And I always thought that the fact that he had to really earn it, and that he had continued to get so much better, and appeared to have this humility about how he approached everything, just made him very special. And so, a year and a half ago now, when we had the chance to trade for him, there was no doubt to me that he would fit into our team and adjust to our system. But frankly, there was no doubt to me that he would fit into any team, any style, and play at an extremely high level. And so we're fortunate to have him. His experience has been a major part of the growth of our team and our young guys over the last 2 years. And we've just got to make sure that he gets more than one shot in the fourth quarter, and that he's touching the ball more.
Jamal, last question on the right.
Rick, I wanted to ask you about your defense and the growth that you guys have had really since the start of last year till now. Just what did it take for you guys to get to the level that you're playing at during the finals and throughout the playoffs?
Well, at first it was a decision that this is important, and we had to get the players to co-sign on it, and they did, and we just went to work, and I mean, this was December of, I guess it was 23, when we kind of had that moment of, this offensive barrage is not going to hold up, which we were putting on the whole league, and so we went to work. Jenny Busick has been a big part of this. Her and Jim Boylan work our defensive stuff. Jenny's the one during games that is in charge of matchups, changing defenses, all kinds of stuff, and she's done an amazing job. And it's not just the coaching of it. There's a relationship building element that's absolutely critical to recruiting a group of players, young players, over to your way of thinking when it comes to something like defense. That in today's age of young players and development, this is not something that players in the AAU level are leaning into, saying, you know, I can't wait to get in there and do the shell drill, you know, and to do things like that, you know. So we have exceptionally great guys on our team, as does Oklahoma. Oklahoma's been building their defensive thing, you know, for many years now, and they've done a terrific job. But if we were going to ever get to this point, our defense had to get better, and Jim and Jenny have had great impact on that.
Thank you, Coach. Thanks, everybody. This concludes.